What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. I'm the host, Devin. Sherdog.com is the website. Social media handle is right there. You guys need to hit me up more. I never hear from any of the listeners. Twitter machine, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, Elon's baby, and Instagram. That's where I'm at. I tweet sometimes on fight nights. It just depends on how hyped I am about it. Pretty cool night of fights this past weekend down in Tampa, Florida. This may be the last episode of 2024. I am not sure. I'm going to try to squeeze something else in, maybe some sort of award show to kick off the new year, a 2024 awards show. If it's the last show of the year, thank all of you guys for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Again, like I said, reach out to me more right here, wherever this is here. Reach out to me. Holler at me. I'm available. If you want to talk about MMA or you have a question, reach out to me there, or in the comments below. You guys can always hit me up. Again, thanks to all of you listeners for listening, tuning in over the year, and we're going to keep rolling. More stuff coming in 2025. There's a UFC event happening out in my neck of the woods. I don't live in Seattle, but I live in the state of Washington. There's an event in Seattle in February. I may attend that. I could be boots on the ground. You never know. We'll see. I got to drive over a pretty sketchy mountain pass to get there, so we'll see if that's a thing for Check the Kick. Possibly. We're gonna hop right into recap UFC Tampa. We have Colby Covington taking a pretty bad loss to Joaquin Buckley this past weekend. This fight from Colby, from the walkout, and we'll talk about that real quick, from the walkout all the way through the fight itself, the ending was almost a blessing in disguise for Colby. And I'll just talk about the ending really quickly. We're going to talk about the ending of the fight in the beginning of the breakdown of the recap. But Demar Liotta asked the doctor, hey, do you want to try to clean this up before you assess the wound? Because there's a wound, but he's also in a fist fight, so you should probably clean the wound to assess it. She said no. I'm not a doctor, but I also thought that was kind of a bad call. Like if you say you've got a pocket knife. I cut the shit out of my hand recently trying to work on my car and open a box for a part, and I stabbed the fucking shit out of my hand. Immediately I cover it. I just grabbed the sleeve of my shirt and just covered it right away, and I went inside. And you look at it while it's bleeding, but then you run the wound under some water to really assess the damage. That's kind of what I did. I ran underwater and I took some paper towels and I wiped off the blood, and I'm like, okay, how deep is it? Because it's really hard to assess it, I would assume. And it's probably going to look worse because it was a bad cut. But you look at the Irene Aldana cut from this past year at the Sphere, it was significantly worse. The Hobocop cut, significantly worse. Dana White in the post-fight press conference said that he if this was in Nevada under the NSAC, they would have allowed this fight to keep going. And I agree. I actually probably don't think they should have stopped it. I mean, she was like, he's going to lose his eyelid. But how often is that doctor a cage side physician for the highest level of MMA? Probably not very often down there in Tampa, because it's the Florida State Athletic Commission, of course, but then they're in Tampa, so they're sourcing somebody from Tampa or St. Petersburg area, greater region. I grew up in South Florida, so I'm pretty familiar with the area and have a pretty good idea of what goes on around there. And I just don't, again, was it trending any better for Colby? Probably not. But I do think that they should have probably cleaned the wound. There was a fuck ton of coagulated blood and shit. Colby's eye was bleeding really bad. His nose is bleeding. He's a dude that Colby himself, he's a dude that he doesn't wear damage well. He doesn't get hurt very, very often. He can take a punishment. If you're listening to the show, you know that already about him, but he just doesn't wear damage well. Has that same Nate Diaz thing. Gets hit a couple times and it's shit. There's other dudes like Cheeto that don't bleed at all after taking a 500 significant strikes. But in round one, you know what? I'm going to talk about the walkout first. The walkout, it's 2024. This whole thing was like a really old guy performance from Colby, like the way he fought, the walkout. Like, dude, it's not. In 2014, this might have hit, but I think my generation and the generation above me that are diehard MMA fans, if they haven't realized it already, they probably should. That I've been watching combat sports since 2004, like since I was young, like freshman in high school. That'll tell you how old I am if you're good at math. Actually, 2005 is when I was a freshman. Anyway, but I recall, and we'll talk about Cub Swanson, but I watched Cub Swanson on WEC at night, like as a kid, like after the Man Show, on Spike TV. But this whole thing, the walkout with Hulk Hogan, like Hulk Hogan was using, he was carrying an American flag, and like prior to, like, you know, through the runway area heading out to the cage, he's using the flag and the flag staff like a cane. He looked like Gandalf, pre-White Wizard, like the gray, but even in worse shape and probably older somehow. But he was like using it as like a walking stick or like a cane. And then he flew the flag. He, you know, came out to Hulk Hogan's thing. But the separation between pro wrestling and MMA has never been further. I think the new generation of fans probably think pro wrestling is lame and corny as hell. And I know a lot of us and the older generation above me, that is probably how a lot of them got into pro wrestling, got into combat sports because of pro wrestling. I watched pro wrestling when I was like a child, like 10, 11, 12. I remember, you know, like choke slamming my pillow, like, you know, doing stupid shit. But once I hit a freshman in high school, like I grew up in Miami, and when I was like a freshman in high school is when Jorge Masvidal and Kimbo Slice were like fighting dudes in backyards, and that was all over YouTube, and that was like 10 minutes from where I lived. So I would be watching that shit, and then that kind of was my introduction into MMA in a way, not through pro wrestling. But I think today more than ever, the ties of pro wrestling and MMA are just drifting further apart, as they should be, especially with all this Vince McMahon scandalous bullshit. I know that the UFC was just acquired by Endeavor, so technically behind the scenes they're closer than ever. What was it, WWF or whatever, WWE? I don't know shit about pro wrestling, but they held an event at the Apex that was supposedly really awesome. So I know that there's ties there. However, fan base wise, I just don't think the ties are there anymore. I don't think this walkout from Colby hit. I thought it was an absolute flop. He had cuts on. I like Colby. I picked Colby going into this fight. Go back and like fucking pause this and go back and watch the walkout again. Colby did like the shirt rip thing, but like he cut a slit at the top of his shirt and at the bottom of his shirt. It was just so blatantly obvious because he decided to wear like white trunks. I'm like, dude, you're wearing a black shirt, white trunks. It's cut at the bottom. You could totally see it. It's all over Twitter anyway. Forget who posted it, but someone did. You can find it. MMA Twitter. First round, like Colby kind of had the right idea, but like I blame MMA Masters for Colby's current run in the UFC. Like, God, imagine if Colby went to a gym like Henry Hooft, where like they just like, hey, you're good at this. We're going to teach you a fuck ton of fundamentals, and we're going to embrace what you're good at. Or even more like Rafael Cordero out in California. Like, this is what you're good at. We're just going to make sure you're really, really fucking good at it. Because Colby's like, he wasn't getting hurt really bad. There was one moment where it looked like he got dropped, but he kind of just got pushed over. He was kind of covered up, and Joaquin Buckley threw a big hook, as he always does. Joaquin Buckley looked good, man. His body punching was good. It was weird to see Colby so lumped up because like I was really like is he really landing anything really clean? But no, the way that Joaquin Buckley, he's fucking huge, number one. He's got a huge chest. He's shaped like a freaking upside down triangle from the waist up. He's got big, long reach, and he kind of has like he's someone that's really employed like a peekaboo style of boxing and striking and MMA. And he can get in and out of the pocket, bob and weave, throw big hooks. He knows how to load up with big power and even like glancing shots. Look what they did to Colby. The first round, he kind of went out there and just got in his face and said, fuck it. I'm going to just be bigger and more athletic than you. I'm going to defend all of your takedown attempts. Like he was like pancaking Colby, like just shoving it, sprawling on his head and just shoving his face into the mat and then just getting up. He was even faster. And then when Colby would try to meet him in the pocket to press forward, Buckley was just like, fuck you. I'm just going to plant and throw with you. I'll throw with you. I hit harder than you. Buckley is a dude that's had, I don't want to say a suspect chin, but we've seen him get knocked out. But it's really only been by big punchers at 185. Do I think someone like MVP would spark Buckley dead? Probably, just because MVP's got this incredible ability to jump from outside of kicking range into punching range and be really, really accurate. And Buckley does a lot of bobbing and weaving and jumping into the pocket. And someone as skillful as MVP could probably pick up his timing. Maybe someone like Jack Della Maddalena could meet him in the pocket with a brawl and just catch him because he's a little bit crisper. But Buckley looks good. He, they're in the second round. Second round was really close. I think some people scored it for Colby like on social media, but I believe the judges gave the first 2 rounds to Buckley. Buckley did finally Covington finally did get some grappling going, got some takedowns. But Buckley did not gas. Buckley seemed to be the bigger puncher. He seemed to be the more athletic fighter in there. I think Colby Covington's athleticism has dwindled a little bit, and I think his ever since that Kamaru Usman fight, the first one where he kind of got his jaw broke, he just seemed to not be as tenacious as he used to be. And that happens. I mean, RDA got his jaw broken. He came back really, really tenacious. It's really commendable. But yeah, I'm not sure what Colby Covington does next from here. I got a big cut over it. It was a doctor stoppage in the 3rd round, which kind of gives something to stand on. You already heard Colby in the back talking to Chael. When Colby's kicks looked fine, like Colby did not look terrible. You're going to listen to other breakdowns and everyone's just going to tell you how absolutely washed Colby Covington looked. And like he did look old, but he didn't look absolutely trashed. Like he wasn't absolutely washed to the point where like he couldn't compete. Like if you put him in there against someone like Santiago Ponzinibbio, I'd pick him. Muslim Salikov, I'd pick him. Even like Randy Brown, I'd probably pick him. But I think that there's guys like Buckley that are just bigger and more athletic and can really lean on their athleticism. Like, is Buckley a better wrestler than Colby Covington? Technically, no. And he did lose a lot of positions in this fight. He was trying to go for like triangles off of his back and do weird shit. And Colby is gritty enough. Like if you don't put him out, if you don't kill him, he's going to keep going. And in the second round, he had top position. He was doing well in the 3rd round up until the stoppage. Like this gives Colby Covington a hill to die on now. He's already again, I saw an interview of him. He went to the back and talked to Chael after the fight. And he was like, I didn't lose this fight. The judges stole this, or the commission, the doctor stole this fight from me. Yeah, so he's got something to stand on. What's next for Joaquin Buckley? He should probably just get the fight with Ian Machado Gary. Or maybe he can pick a fight with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman came out today and was like, yeah, I'm not fighting that dude. I got to get my injuries healed up. And for anyone that's talking, that's like in comments, or you agree with the people that are talking shit about Usman for not coming in and fighting, like, sorry, I need to fix my camera. Go watch Usman's last fight against Khamzat Chimaev and go watch how he leaves the octagon. He has to walk backwards down the steps because his knees are so fucked up. His whole championship run, like, you know what a donut tire is for your car? Yeah, Kamaru Usman's whole. Imagine doing a whole entire race on 2 donuts. That's what Usman did his whole championship run. Usman's whole entire championship run was done like on donut tires. His legs are fucked. So he does need to get knee surgery and get back. That's probably what he's going to have to get back. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Sean Brady or JDM. He didn't look too beat up, so maybe he can turn around and catch JDM on that Australia card. I don't know what the hell JDM's got going on with that crazy staph infection that he had. We'll see. And then what's next for Colby is I don't think he'll retire, and I totally think he could get another. His next time out, he'll probably be a main event, but like at the Apex. He'll still be a main event, but it's just going to slowly get worse. And I think he should fight someone like Brian Battle. Even though Brian Battle is coming off of, he missed weight. He won to gift him a main event, but like I do think him and Brian Battle would be a really cool main event at the Apex if Brian Battle can get his weight and shit in check. Colby Covington probably won't be fighting for another 8 months anyway. So maybe that's perfect. I know I don't want to reward somebody, but at the same time, like, got to do something with the guy or give him another old guy fight in a 3-rounder, like at an Apex co-main event against Ponzi or something like that. Moving on to the co-main event, we had Cub Swanson taking on Billy Quarantillo, the New Yorker residing in Tampa, Florida, taking on the SoCal kid. I mean, he's not a kid anymore. He's 41 years old. Cub Swanson, Killer Cub. Incredible fight. Cub takes the first round, back and forth brawl. Billy Q starts coming back doing his Billy Q thing, landed fucking incredible knees on Cub, had Cub hurt in the second round a bit. Second round closes out. Both rounds are pretty close. Round 1 was pretty clear for Cub, though, and round 2 was kind of pretty clear for Billy Q, and the fight was on the table. Both dudes came out brawling. This was just like an old dude fight. That was so fucking cool. And Cub Swanson, in Cub Swanson fashion, just crushes Billy Q with the right hand. 41 years old at featherweight. Fact check me. I don't know if this is a fact, but like, is he not the oldest featherweight that's competed on the roster? He may be the oldest featherweight that's got a knockout like in a very long time at 145 pounds. He's 41. Who the fuck does that? This was a card, shout out to all the old dudes. Yeah, Buckley lost, but a lot of old dudes did really well. I'm not going to talk about Davey Grant, but he did fucking well. Beating Ramon Tavares, like this, what a night for the old dudes. Cub Swanson, man. The X's and O's in this fight is just like two stray cats scrapping over a sardine in a dumpster with the lid shut. Cub's boxing looked really, really well. His hands down at his waist. For 41, like, number one, he shouldn't fight like that. But Adrian Yanez should also just go watch old Cub Swanson tape, because Cub's ability to like be in boxing range but throw these weird no-tell big shots with big power, and then like just get out by a hair and then be able to fire back in return. Like he will start an engagement with his opponent. He'll start a striking exchange. He'll be the first one to throw, let his opponent fire back, slip, just get out of range, and then be right back in range, and then fire back and close that combination, and close that exchange down. I've been watching Cub Swanson fight since like 2007 in WEC, when he debuted in WEC. I believe that's when he debuted, and I was young. I was like a sophomore or a junior in high school. WEC lives. Like, what should this dude do? Like, should he fight like Edson Barbosa? I don't know. He needs to fight another old guy. There's not even like a ton to talk about. It was just such a cool fucking moment. Bisping was teeing him off like, this is a good time for you to retire. Do you want to retire? He doesn't do it. He goes to the post-fight desk, and it's kind of rolling. The guys at Sherdog, I think something happened where they weren't able to do a recap of this card, unfortunately. Maybe this is why you're tuning in now. But so I was kind of watching the post-fight show, finishing up some tweets and kind of finishing up some notes for this show. and they bring Cub out there, and they're talking to him, and he's talking about how much he loves the sport, even though he never really fought for a title, never really became a champion, whatever. And then the UFC had a retirement package. They played him his retirement package. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. Just in case. Well, let's roll this right here while he's here. And he just had this smile from ear to ear. He was so proud of himself. Cub Swanson fighting in front of his kids and his wife is a bad motherfucker. And I love what he said to the crowd. He's like, hey, just thank you guys for letting a 40-year-old guy come out and put on a show for all you guys. And it's just like, dude, you're not a 40-year-old dad is what he said. Cub, you are not the average 40-year-old dad. 41-year-old. Shout out to Laura Sanko in the post-fight show. She was like, I wish I looked as good as Cub Swanson at 41 years old. And I'm like, I think you do, Laura. Really, really awesome fight, man. Cub Swanson's so fucking cool. The whole thing was so cool, and shout out to Billy. He was in his backyard and he did not fight a safe fight against Cub. It was just like the old school JDS where he look at his opponent and point to the ground. That's kind of what this fight reminded me of. Really, really cool performance from Cub Swanson. Moving on to a men's flyweight bout, we had Manel Kape taking on Bruno Silva. Manel Kape won this bout via third round TKO stoppage due to groin kick and then body shots and then shots to the head. I'm totally kidding. It kind of did look like a nut shot, but fucking for as cocky of a person and fighter as Manel Kape is, and as much of a arrogant dude as he can be, he totally deserved. Bruno Silva totally deserved. Sorry, my camera looks strange. Bruno Silva totally had that coming. Bruno Silva fouled Manel Kape 3 times with eye pokes, ball kicks, to the point where. Also, shout out to Manel Kape for doing whatever he needed to do to win this fight. As an adult male, I know what it's like to be kicked in the balls. It's absolutely terrible. But I was like, he got hit there, Manel Kape did. But man, he's rolling around on the ground. He really wants that point. You're watching the ref, watch Manel, watching the ref, watch Manel. And he's like, point! Taking a point from Bruno Silva. I'm like, fucking finally, because Adrian Yanez got kicked and I poked, kicking the balls and I poked at the same time. And Keith Peterson's like, stern final stern warning. And I tweeted out, I was like, that's a really impressive stern warning from Keith Peterson. Hope he's okay. He's looking a little thin lately. But yeah, this fight, Kape looked incredible. This is the Manel Kape that, you go and look through Manel Kape's UFC career, and he did not have a true credible. When I say credible, Ode Osborne is a credible opponent. Zalga Zumagulov is a credible opponent. But when I say credible, I mean he wants to fight for a title. He thinks he deserves to be fighting for a title. He saw Kaya Sakura come through and fight for a title. He's like, that should be me. Manel Kape thinks he should have fought for a title a while ago. But he just didn't have a single UFC win that, that could hold anything a light to these other guys, even Steve Usyk. Steve Usyk's win over Matt Snow was better than any win that Kape got in the UFC up until this past weekend. And I still don't really rate Bruno Silva that high. Bruno Silva's. We just saw Cody Durden get absolutely pieced up by Joshua Van, and Cody Durden was rolling Bruno Silva till he got caught. Not a lucky knockout, but I don't know if Bruno Silva's repeating that same outcome. Bruno Silva's a dude that's fast and hits hard, and he's pretty dangerous, and he's well-rounded. And Kape's speed. Kape can square up. He's so fast. He can square up in front of his opponents, taunt them, and hit them with a 4-piece combination of just all straight hooks wrapping around his opponent's guard. He's a technical striker, Kape, but he is just so fucking fast that it just kind of doesn't matter because he can plant in front of an opponent again and fire off a 3 to 5 punch and kick combination and be out of there so quick where like even the most technical striker just could not. He's one of the faster combat sports athletes I've just like ever seen, period. Hand speed incredibly fast, foot speed incredibly fast, his ability to close distance. That this is why he was such a fucking killer in Japan, because Japan's MMA is fought a little bit different than American MMA, especially in the UFC, especially at flyweight, where like in Japan, they fight a much more like tepid pace. It's a little bit slower, not as high volume. So Kape could just be like a blistering fast dude and just win tons of fights just for surprising people with his speed and athleticism. Here he's finally starting to turn a corner. Like, okay, I can still do all of that shit and just let the bullets fly. And that's what he did. This was nothing like the Muhammad Mokaev fight. And I don't know why he was so scared of Muhammad Mokaev's grappling. I know he like broke his toe in that fight, but like, dude, there's two types of fighters that lose fights. There's fighters that know they're going to lose and they're just like, fuck it. And then there's dudes like Michael Chandler that are like, when he had that rematch with Charles Oliveira and Charles Oliveira had his back, you look at his eyes. He's like, I'm losing this fight, but I'm just going to go for it. And that's what he should have done against Muhammad Mokaev. Like if he was so fearful of the wrestling that he was going to lose the fight and just kind of refuse to engage, like, dude, just engage and see what happens. Like you lost anyway. Fuck it. But this fight, all of that was thrown out the window. He clearly won the first round. Like Bruno Silva was trying to be, and he did land some nice shots on Kape. Like he was going for it. He was throwing these like spinning back fists, and Kape's ability to read when his hips and shoulders were twisting. He was like cutting the angle and blasting him with 3 punches before Silva could even finish the turn. Like you want to see a really good, perfect spinning back fist. It just happened recently. Volkov blasted Cyril Gane with one. But imagine Cyril Gane being so fast that by the time Volkov starts the spinning back fist, he's already cutting the angle and hitting him with 3 shots. And then he's not there to be hit by the punch, where the punch was intended to land. Like in Manel Kape time, that punch was that punch was 5 years too late. Like I saw that coming from a long way away. He like fights like if something that's on 1.5 speed, like just really fast. It's really cool. That like teep to the body and his variants of punches and shots to the head, where he's punching the body, punching to the head to finish his opponent. Like he's got like that killer instinct back. His post fight was awesome. He's like, I'm fabulous. I'm fantastic. Fuck Brandon Moreno. Fuck this. Fuck that. Fuck Adesanya. I'm like, what did Adesanya? I'm not the biggest Adesanya fan, but I'm like, what did Adesanya do? I know he tried to fight Adesanya at a press conference, and like he would have done it, which that tells you everything you need to know about Manel Kape. Really, really cool performance from Kape. He, after in between the second and third round, he's yelling at Dana, give me my title fight, give me my title fight. Dana's like, bro, finish this fight first. So he goes out there and does what Dana says. Dana says that we'll talk after the fight. Go have your moment. We'll talk in like 20 minutes, bro. So they talk. Dana White in the post-fight presser is like, yeah, he's not fighting for the title next. But we're giving him what he wants, meaning like he probably wants to fight with Kai Kara-France or Brandon Moreno in a title eliminator. Give it to me. Give me Kara-France versus Manel Kape. He needs to, in my opinion. Like, even a division like 125 with a champ like Pantoja, people should still, like Steve Usyk, even though he fought really well against a champ, he didn't earn that title shot, in my opinion. And even in a division with a champ like Pantoja, dudes need to still show up and earn their title fight. Bruno Silva, this was a opportunity for him, and he just kind of, probably fights Joshua Van next, or Charles Johnson, or maybe someone just outside of the rankings, maybe like a Suma Derji. I'm not sure. Cool win for Kape. He's finally looking like what we all wanted him to look like, and I'd love to see him with this type of volume in a fight that's 5 rounds against an opponent that's just not going to easily go away. Also, too, really quickly, Dana White kind of laughing off the Manel Kape. He didn't laugh it off, but kind of shutting down the Manel Kape title fight means that maybe they are talking to DJ. Maybe they're talking to Figueiredo, but it sounds like they might have a plan for Pantoja. So let's keep an ear out for that. All right, moving on to a men's light heavyweight bout. We had Dustin Jacoby taking on Vitor Petrino, knocking him out in the third round, knocking him dead. One of my favorite performances of the night because the live odds were really skewed in Petrino's favor, which is weird because Jacoby kind of clearly won the first round, and then Petrino just won the second round, but like nothing happened. And people forget that, like, even though Justin Jacoby is like kind of old and lost a bunch of fights in a row, like he didn't look terrible in those fights. Like, yeah, he got knocked out by Dominic Reyes, but Dominic Reyes is a really fast, good athlete. And he's a good fighter, even though he himself went on a losing streak. But like, go look at his fight with Khalil Roundtree. Go look how Khalil Roundtree did against the champ. Oh yeah. Dustin Jacoby did fight the champ of this division in kickboxing. Yeah, he lost, but he made it. Like, Jacoby's a good kickboxer, and he's really tactical, and he's a tight puncher, and he can be low volume at times, but like, he's a good counter puncher. Like, he fucking blasted Kennedy Nzechukwu, blasted Vitor Petrino with these like really crisp, tight, cool counters. Fucking knocked him dead. It really reminded me, mind you, I feel like I'm the one that coined this shit. Go to Twitter. The second the fight ends, I'm on the Twitter machine. This really reminded me of Jorge Masvidal getting knocked out by Kamaru Usman in their second fight. And of course, like, everyone's running with it. So I feel like I'm the one that really caught that. I'm just kidding. But no, it really reminded me of Usman versus Masvidal too. Like, the same, like, short left, right cross, just knocking him dead. The way that he just like crumpled, and like the way that he was the first person, Usman was the first person to knock out Masvidal, which is really impressive. This one, he was like, Vitor Petrino is a dude that, like, he's the epitome of an unranked light heavyweight, just like good at nothing, but walking off the bus is an absolute athletic fucking freak. He's huge, giant, powerful, actually has pretty good cardio, but he's not really good at anything. Like, he will strike with people, he will bully people, he will try to wrestle and bully people. He will be able to beat a ton of other unranked light heavyweights that he's just a bigger and better athlete than. But like, anyone that has a skill and that will like be patient and use that skill and is not bullyable, like, called Dustin Jacoby what you want, but he's not a dude that's like really easily bullyable. Like, even getting hurt against like Azamat Mirzakhanov, like, he's coming back and winning rounds and doing really well against Azamat. Like, he's not a dude that's gonna break, you know, like, yeah. Anyway, Dean Thomas. I really like Dean Thomas, and I don't think he had a great night tonight. Like, he was, even the desk and Dean Thomas were kind of like ridiculing Jacoby's patience. And I'm like, well, just killed someone. So, and he was patient. Like, that was his game plan. I do think he should have tried to take more chances of more opportunities, but I can't say anything. Like, you go out there and you win a round, you kind of have a close second round, and then you have a close third round, but then end up catching a body, like, and you're a kickboxer with the background that Jacoby has, and you're a known to be pretty sharp and powerful counterpuncher, and you go out there and you do that. Like, I can't be mad at you for doing that. Like, it's not going to be the best fights to watch, but like, if that's going to be the outcome, cool. And then if you get knocked out by Dominic Reyes and that's how your fights go, if he wins a fight and loses a fight the way that his last two fights went, and that's kind of how he closes out his UFC career, like, he'll probably get $50,000 another time or two, and, you know, do something cool again. Dustin Jacoby's a cool fighter. What's next for him? He should just fight like the loser of Bogdan Guskov and Johnny Walker. And I think it's going to be Johnny Walker. I really think him and Johnny Walker would be a funny fight, because like, Johnny Walker will run himself onto counters, but Dustin Jacoby is like killable. Like, he's older and he's not the most durable dude, but like, Dustin Jacoby could just do what he did to Petrino to another like giant athletic freak. We will see at some point Johnny Walker versus Vitor Petrino in the UFC, and it'll be so funny. All Johnny Walker has to do is like lose one more fight or two more fights, and he's right there fighting Vitor Petrino. I would love to see that. That'd be hilarious. Um, Johnny Walker should just fight both of these guys anyway. That's my pick for their next two fights. And the rest of this card was pretty cool. Adrian Yanez and Daniel Marcos was a pretty cool fight. Michael Johnson killing Otman Azaitar. That was really, really awesome. Go back and watch that fight. His hand speed at 38 years old was incredible. He needs to just fight Jim Miller. He called out Justin Gaethje in a rematch, and maybe that could happen. But I would much rather see him fight Jim Miller. Like Michael Johnson needs to fight Jim Miller. That was really cool. He caught a body. Otman Azaitar. Apparently, what was ever in those potatoes that he tried to take onto Fight Island, he really needed, because since he didn't get those potatoes into Fight Island, he's been not looking so great. Yoel Alvarez, the Spaniard, absolute killer. He killed Drakkar Close with the knee and then caught him unconscious in a front headlock and a one-arm guillotine, and just like hit him a little bit more while he was already completely unconscious. Like, that was insane and scary. And Sean Woodson kills Fernando Padilla in a really cool knockout as well. Kind of a back and forth brawl, that two giant lanky featherweights going at it. It kind of looked like it was in slow motion in a way, because they're just so big and lanky, but it's at such a light weight class for both of their frames. Sean Woodson looked really cool. The finishing sequence of that fight was really cool. Felipe Lima looked good against Miles Johns. Miranda Maverick is on a hamster wheel of her career. She's winning fights, but she's not going anywhere with these performances, not improving either. She's becoming a cigarette break fighter, which really sucks, because she was so highly touted. But like, if you're a smoker and Miranda Maverick's on your card, that's when you go outside for the smoke break. This fight with Jamie Lynn Horth was not good. It was a really tough watch. I spoke on Davey Grant earlier. Davey Grant looked great at 39 years old as a bantamweight, beating Ramon Tavares, and Pierre Rodriguez beat Josephine Knudsen. And she was a big underdog there, and she kind of went out there and beat her up quite a bit, and she didn't have to headbutt her. All around, UFC Tampa was really cool, and we're going to move to the final segment of the show, where I'm going to talk about Fury and Usyk. That was out with the old, and we're just going to go straight to into the new, in with the new. No MMA this weekend, but we do have some boxing going on. This weekend, we actually have a really, really awesome fight that's going to happen heavyweight. We have Oleksandyr Usyk taking on Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. Usyk is the favorite, slightly. He's a minus 130 favorite. Fury's coming back as a plus 120 dog. Their last fight was an absolute barn burner. Tyson Fury, after the Deontay Wilder wars and taking that damage, he kind of seems to be plateaued, or maybe at the end of his career, especially the way he looked against Ngannou, when Usyk is just absolutely streaking. And then both of them were so great. I have said before, possibly on this show, that at one point where I thought Tyson Fury could put up a great fight against really any heavyweight that's ever existed. And I would say the same against Usyk. They're both fucking incredible talents. Their last time out, Usyk won via a split decision, where like he won the like first 2 rounds of the fight, and then the first 3 rounds of the fight, and then Tyson Fury just like started cruising and hurting Usyk to the body, and like styling on him and looking great through like the middle like 5 rounds. And then Usyk started coming back and hurting Fury and started wailing on him, and Fury had to hang on. What an incredible fight these two dudes put on. Fury is such a fun fighter. He's one of my favorite boxers just ever. And it's really just because of that like Deontay Wilder trilogy. And what I really love about Fury is like he fought such a big puncher in Deontay Wilder that like he had to go and kind of like almost change his style. If you remember, he changed coaches, and Deontay Wilder turned Tyson Fury into a puncher. And the reason why he had to become a puncher to fight someone like Deontay Wilder is because Deontay Wilder is so dangerous from the beginning the fight starts. And this was a prime Deontay Wilder. Like, he may be washed right now, but if you're listening to this and you think Francis Ngannou or Tom Aspinall is a scary puncher, Prime Bronze Bomber was like one of the scariest heavyweight punchers just ever, and coming in at like 220 pounds. This long, lanky dude from Alabama won gold medal in the Olympics, an incredible fucking puncher. Like just literal God-given power. Like you look at his frame, you look at his legs, like he hit like around the ankles, his legs were like this big around. Just a big, tall, scrawny dude that had so much power. Um, go like and I go watch some Deontay Wilder highlights after the show, please, because that was just incredible. But he had to become a puncher because he realized like I can't go out there and do a tit for tat and outpoint this dude because he's so dangerous that like the way for me to win a fight is to go out there and finish. And that's the mentality he's taken from those fights and taken on beyond that, where Tyson Fury can outslick 95% of the heavyweights. He's just got great footwork, good head movement. He's got bravery in the pocket, good vision. He's long. He'll use the ropes. He'll lean back. He'll bob and weave. And he's fearless, and he's fearless enough to stay there and do that. But against Deontay in those fights, like he knew he couldn't hang out and do that because he got clipped. And I mean, in that first Deontay Wilder fight, the way he got knocked dead in the 12th round after cruising to what should have been a victory that ended up as a draw. He kind of clearly won the whole fight, but that's when Deontay Wilder had a lot of hype. And Fury had kind of came out of a retirement due to drug issues. Fury's life, he's kind of like a crazy, weird hero. The way he like faced drug addiction, suicide, and everything, like and came through on the back end, in the way he is right now, like such a family man, such a nice kind of humble-ish guy. Say humble-ish, because he will talk shit and he is a confident dude, but not a guy with a huge ego. Usyk, on the other hand, he is a dude that, cut his teeth in cruiserweight and was a champ down there, was an absolute killer. I was watching some Usyk highlights last night and came up a division and just started schooling dudes, like schooled Anthony Joshua twice, hurt him, and he's hurt Tyson Fury, and he's, trained at the same camp as Lomachenko. He's such a skilled boxer, and he's so tough and he's so durable. He can be hurt to the body, but he's so tough and durable, and he's such a crafty southpaw. He's got really good footwork, really good at all ranges. Back to Tyson Fury, one thing I really like about Fury is like he can be a dude that will stick you on the end of his jab, use his footwork, and kind of try to be a point fighter. He can be a swing and cling guy where he's like 7 feet tall and like 300 pounds. Like he can just lay all over you and bust you up on the clinch breaks and fight really dirty. Or he can go out there and just like be a power puncher like he did against Deontay Wilder in their third fight. Usyk has incredible skills in his own, but I don't think he's as well-rounded of a boxer as Fury is, but I definitely think he's a much more tight technical dude. In that first fight, it took Fury a little bit to get warmed up, but once he started popping to the body, he started doing really, really well, and he got caught and got hurt. And then at that point, the fight kind of started slipping away from him. I think in this fight, I'm going to pick Tyson Fury. I'm really concerned, and it's an underdog pick, and I just picked underdogs this week and looked really stupid. Like I picked Colby to win, and Colby got beat up. I picked Adrian Yanez to win, and I don't feel bad about that, but I do feel bad about Adrian's performance. I didn't like what he did in the third round. I picked Manel Kape, right? He was a big favorite, but I'm going to pick Fury in this fight. I'm picking Fury because I feel like just boxing, like he started to do the better work, and he's the one that made the read and found out what was working. And Usyk kind of just buzzed him with a shot and ran away with the rest of the fight. I could be totally wrong. Usyk's incredible. Fury's taken a lot of damage. His whole career has been at heavyweight. He fought Deontay Wilder 3 times. He's been dropped by Deontay alone like 7 times in his career, and he was hurt by Usyk in their last fight. He seems to be the dude that's taken more damage. The fight was also just like this past spring. What was it, like in May or something like that? So not a lot of time. The promo for this fight was so effing cool too. Like you guys should go watch that promo. really, really awesome. This fight's going to be awesome. Like could be like fight of the year stuff. And it's happening right before the holidays. Really, really cool fight. I'm picking Fury, but I'm not confident. That's the show, guys. I will probably not record anything next week on Christmas week, just for the holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Again, I really appreciate all of you guys for always tuning in. That's the show. Check the Kick. I'm the host, Devin. That's my handle. Hit me up. Thanks, guys.